Can the Denver Broncos beat up on their divisional opponent, the Los Angeles Chargers? That and more on today's edition of Orange and Blue. Today, I'm Cecil Lammey. Andrew Mason should be checking in from Los Angeles sometime, but I actually do believe that you could see the Denver Broncos come out on top. We will talk about it all in the show. Andrew Mason joins me. Mace, good evening, good afternoon, good day. How's LA treating you?
Oh, not too bad. I mean, good evening though. I mean, we're still a few hours away from that. Like the
Baby,
Monday.
I just woke up, man. I haven't even had my coffee yet.
Okay,
Don't be chirping me about that.
Hey, Monday Night Football kind of does a number with your schedule because it's Monday Night Football. But when you're out in the West Coast, it's actually Monday afternoon football. The game's going to start here at 5:00 local time, just like it did when the Broncos were in Seattle in Week 1. So it always, whenever the Broncos are playing a Monday night game out here in the Pacific time zone, it always plays tricks on me mentally.
Right. What are your biorhythms like? What are the fans like? You had guessed maybe it'd be 50-50 with Broncos fans out there.
It's
this game.
Wait, I can't tell. It's way too early. There's no one in the stands. And where I parked, it was right across. It was about a 5-minute walk from the stadium. It wasn't through any of the lots or anything like that. So unfortunately, because I had to get here, the press box in time to do this show, I have no report on how many Bronco fans are here. We'll find out when people start settling in.
That's what we find out during the pregame show. So just tease you for that. We'll be doing pregame coming up at 5:15 on Mountain Time. Andrew Mason, Rachel V. Hill, and yours truly, Cecil Lammey. Mace, I just began the show saying I think the Broncos can win tonight. I know we'll pick at the end of this show, but what are you thinking about tonight's game?
I mean, of course they can win. I mean, the thing is, you look at the league right now, and I think one thing that having all this downtime over the last 11 days has allowed us to do is really take a look at where things stand on a league-wide basis. If you're not the Eagles, Chiefs, or Bills, you're skulking around 500 or maybe a bit below. You can win any game. You can lose any game. Everything is basically a toss-up. So with that in mind, can the Broncos win this game? Of course they can. This is a Chargers team that's not at full strength. They don't have Rashawn Slater. They don't have Joey Bosa. Keenan Allen is doubtful to play tonight, and we certainly gives a break to the Broncos trying to adapt to life without Ronald Darby. Of course they can win this game.
I say they will win. How about that, Mace? I don't want to get into the semantics game with you, but I feel they will win. Here's 3 examples, okay? 3 examples. Jets, Falcons, Giants. Now, what do all 3 of those teams have in common? They ran the damn ball. The Broncos will win tonight, so we don't get into semantics, because, of course, anything is possible. That's what Kevin Garnett said years ago. So, yes, anything is possible, but I think they will win if they have a commitment to the ground game. I don't even care who it is, Mace. I'm so sick and tired of talking about Melvin Gordon. Like, oh, Melvin, like, oh, God, yes, we know he's a talented guy that fumbles the ball all the time. I don't care. If he holds on to the rock, he can do good things. So the Broncos will win tonight if blank for you, Mace.
If they intercept Justin Herbert. And I know, and I actually focused on this in my numbers piece that you can find at denverfan.com. If Justin Herbert throws an interception, the Chargers are 4-17 in his starts. So you look at that. You look at the fact that the Broncos in 4 games against Justin Herbert-led teams have a pair of 2 interception games, winning both. One in 2020, the Drew Lock comeback game. One last year that saw one of the interceptions was a Pat Surtain pick 6 there that effectively sealed the game. So I'd like to see this defense, which has been outstanding for the most part, and it has made explosive plays. But what it hasn't done a lot of through 5 games is generate takeaways. Well, this is the night to try to do it. This is the night to try and generate takeaways. And frankly, a big part of that may fall on Damari Mathis. Now, getting Justin Simmons back as a center fielder, that's going to help. But if Justin Herbert chooses to test Mathis, and he admitted in the locker room last week, he knows how opposing quarterbacks are going to view him. That's, quote, fresh meat, unquote. So if Mathis can make a good play on the ball, get a takeaway, then I think you've got a chance to discombobulate this Chargers team and get this game on your terms. And look, this Chargers offense, they've got some interesting targets, but without Keenan Allen, it's not like you're looking at this collection of pass catchers, especially with Pat Surtain likely taking care of Mike Williams and saying, oh, that guy's going to break our back.
Right. Yeah. You can look at the rest of the Chargers passing attack and go, okay, is Gerald ever going to beat you? Probably not. This team's been much better against tight ends than I would ever thought they would be, especially after, still ignoring the inside linebacker position. What are we talking about? Josh Palmer, right? Like the cupboards are getting pretty bare with the Chargers now that we know Keenan Allen's probably not going to play.
Yeah, I mean, really, the guy who's picked up a lot of the slack is actually Austin Eckler coming out of the backfield.
Because Jalen Guyton got hurt, right? Top of my head. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, Eckler is the safety valve option for Justin Herbert. But that being said, if Herbert is dumping it off to Eckler, then you're not worried about this Chargers offense making an explosive play. Herbert dumping off to Eckler is probably just kind of the let's stay on schedule. Let's not get behind the sticks. That kind of thing. Austin Eckler's about 6-7 yards catch. I mean, that's fine, but it's not something where you're saying, okay, this guy can really be this, unless you miss tackles. And he can generate some missed tackles, but this Broncos defense on the whole is a very good tackling unit. It's above average as a tackling unit. So if that's what the Chargers resort to, if that's what Herbert settles for, I'm not too worried about what they're doing if they're settling for a bunch of dump offs.
Yeah, because you mentioned with Damari Mathis is like limit explosive plays, and if you can limit explosive plays, hey, Austin Eckler's going to have 10 catches tonight. Fine, as long as they're short
for 58
underneath
yards.
Yeah, they'll rally to the ball, they'll tackle him, and they'll do good. It's better than having someone not named Mike Williams go off for a big explosive play against Mathis. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I mean, you look back at last year, and obviously the Broncos, they were in a tough spot personnel-wise because of COVID when they came out here just after New Year's. But that game, you saw explosive plays. You saw them taking the top off this defense, and so you're fine letting him dink and dunk. Frankly, with Justin Herbert tonight, when it comes to him making an explosive play, Cecil, I'm more concerned about him with his legs than making a 20-plus play with his arm.
Right, and you could see Justin Herbert take off and run either by design or because all options are exhausted, and the Broncos have to be able to account for that because it's not just Austin Eckler running the rock. And I highlighted in my game plan at denverfan.com, watch for runs up the middle. You don't think about that with Austin Eckler. I don't think about speaking English, but you don't think about that with Austin Eckler. But he's the type of guy who doesn't dance a whole lot. Even though he's a water bug type of running back, he doesn't spend a lot of wasted motion dancing in the backfield. He can take it, cut it, and go. So you have to watch out for him, Joshua Kelly, and Justin Herbert tonight.
Yeah, watch out for him up the middle, especially if we see things like what the Raiders did a couple of weeks back when they got the Broncos in their nickel and dime packages and spread them out horizontally and then called those draws to Josh Jacobs. That's one area where I would be a little bit concerned. And you're not going to have Caden Stearns. We talked a lot about Caden Stearns settling in as a dime back, and you and I both discussed the notion of him playing a lot of snaps as the dime back this week as you try to figure things out in terms of how to balance your coverage with having somebody spy on Justin Herbert. Well, now you don't have that option. You're going to have PJ Locke. He's going to be back in there. Anthony Harris is activated from the practice squad as well, but I feel a little bit more nervous about that without Caden Stearns out there.
Yeah, and Locke's played good football. We both appreciate Locke's game. And what's funny, Mace, is like I am way more impressed or excited by their depth at safety. Getting Justin Simmons back tonight, of course, but like that's always been more exciting to me than the depth at corner, which has been more of a concern, whether it's Ojemudia or Damari Mathis or whoever now without Ronald Darby.
Yeah, well, the thing about the depth at safety is it's a little further down the line in development. You've got, Caden Stearns is a second-year guy. PJ Locke has been around for 3 seasons. They've had their time to marinate in this scheme, both under Vic Fangio and now under Ejiro Evero. And so when you watch Stearns and PJ Locke, you watch 2 players who know exactly what they're doing, whereas someone like Ojemudia, he missed all of last season effectively, and came back late in the year. And then Damari Mathis is a rookie. So they're simply not at the same point in their development and what they're doing schematically as PJ Locke and Caden Stearns are. And Stearns, has got a fair amount of snaps already under his belt. He made a couple of starts last year. So I think part of that is also, with all due respect to Ojemudia, I think Stearns and Locke are just better players at this point.
Yeah, they're players with some fine upside, and well, it looks like you're at the Umbrella Corporation. What is that press box like at SoFi?
It's nice. I mean, I got to say, though, a little bit of a fumble here. Maybe it augurs poorly for the Chargers, but the carbonation in the soda machine isn't working. So I've got this Pepsi Zero sugar here,
okay,
and it's flat.
Oh, man.
I'm hoping that I think everyone in Broncos country is hoping that the Chargers come out as flat as this soda that is in my aluminum cup here.
Oh, look at man on the scene, Andrew Mason. They got the aluminum cups they broke out. Spanos don't like to spend money.
Well, all right. Remember, this is the Rams' house. They are they are tenants, and of course, the Rams are owned by Stan Kroenke, who sponsors the arena that Kroenke has in Denver, Ball, and a big thing for Ball is aluminum. And in fact, I can't zoom in here, but that is a Ball logo. It is a Ball aluminum cup here.
Okay.
So it is corporate synergy in the Kroenke sports universe, and the Chargers as tenants here at SoFi Stadium just happen to be caught up into it. Drink up, everyone.
Drink up, and a toast to you, Andrew Mason. Jeremy asks, which coach will have more questionable decisions tonight? It's always going to be Staley for me. I'm not a fan of Nathaniel Hackett, but Staley makes some puzzling choices often.
Yeah, and I think with Nathaniel Hackett, although I did not agree at all with that 3rd and 4 call to try to jam it in there to Tyree Cleveland when – if you get a field goal, you're up 6. If you just get 5 yards, it's actually the perfect scenario. You didn't need to go for the end zone there. But in general, that moment accepted, the decision-making has been a bit better since Jerry Rossberg walked in the building. So I'm going to say Staley because he's still kind of unrestrained in what he's doing on 4th downs. I mean, now Chargers fans certainly hope that he doesn't take it to the Mike McCarthy extreme last night. I mean, what is it about Cowboys coaches just losing their dadgum minds when they go to Philadelphia and they decide to go for it on 4th down? I thought I was watching Barry Switzer back coaching the Cowboys again.
Yeah, dadgum. I love when you use dadgum.
Wait, well, it's a family show, Cecil.
It is. So we try to stay family friendly here on Orange or Blue today. Although it is a BFD to watch OBT, we still have to mix that in. Where's our promo that says that? Anyway, Roport says if they lose, anybody losing their job, no. I'd say if we got to the bye, if things are really bad, because the Jets are tough, man. The Jets are tough. Robert Saleh's got those guys focused. Jaguars are no pushovers. So, you get to the bye, then maybe, but it's not going to be this whole fantasy of fire Hackett and all that. Like, that's not going to happen. Not during the season. Things would have to be abnormally bad, and they're bad. So I don't see this happening anytime real soon.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. Certainly not through the bye. I think the only way it happens is if you continue to have this scenario where the team as a whole is underperforming, but the defense is doing really well. Because if that happens, then maybe it's, do we want to get a look at Ejiro Evero running the shop before we make a decision one way or the other? That's the one thing that, and this is like, it's not even if they're at the bye. We're talking about, Cecil, if they're like 4-7, 4-8, right?
Right.
I mean, December. Not until December in all likelihood is when we'll be talking about that. But it has to be a specific way of getting there. If the defense starts to struggle, then I think that's something that maybe goes by the wayside. But if we continue to see this equation where you've got the Broncos with one of the league's best defenses, but the offense is still skulking around there in the bottom 2 or 3 in terms of output on a per game basis, then I think they may say, all right, maybe we do it to get a look at Evero. But that's the only way I see it happening.
Fans are excited about Greg Dulcich. Do we know his status tonight, Mason? I've always said, talk to me in 3 years. He's a rookie tight end. Like, talk to me in 3 years. Don't talk to me now. What do we know?
Well, I mean, he's been activated from IR, so that would tell me that he's probably going to play in this game, but I don't expect him to play all that much if he has a jersey tonight. Now, he may be taking Albert Okwuegbunam snaps as far as the guy who's operating in space and the guy and getting him downfield. I don't think he's ready for much more than that at this point. And even then, with that hamstring injury, they're going to be cautious. I don't think they're going to all of a sudden have Greg Dulcich going 60 miles an hour and effectively playing 40 or 50 snaps. I think it's going to be some limited reps for him. Like Hackett said last week, Cecil, quote, slow progress is what they're talking about from Greg Dulcich.
Yeah, Samuel asks about why the Broncos didn't go after Robbie Anderson, of course, who's traded to the Arizona Cardinals today. Maybe not the only trade the Panthers will be doing, but my short answer is Anderson's not good. Like his fantasy season of 2020 when he had 1,000 yards, like that was a one-off. Other than that, I mean, he's a guy who Steve Wilks had to send to the locker room in the fourth quarter. So the staff had already turned on him when his college coach, Matt Rule, wasn't there because he played under Rule at Temple. But my short answer for Samuel, and appreciate your question, is just like, nah, Robbie Anderson's not good. Jerry Jeudy's better. I'm no Jeudy fan. KJ Hamler's better, in my opinion. And obviously they haven't been as productive as Anderson, but that was one time. 3 years ago, he had 1,000 yards. Since then, he's pretty much been garbage.
Yeah, and the other thing, although Carolina's eating a lot of that contract, you've already got pretty sizable contracts at the wide receiver position on Tim Patrick, of course, on IR, and Cortland Sutton. So I don't think that's something that's in the cards. I think it's more likely, if we're talking about altering the complexion of the wide receiver room, I think it's more likely we see KJ Hamler get a few more snaps. And now they've got Kendall Hinton back up on the 53 because they ran out of practice squad promotions for Kendall Hinton. I think he'll work his way back in as well, and he'll get some snaps because Hinton is reliable. Like when you get beyond Cortland Sutton, you need somebody who is very dependable. Kendall Hinton, to his credit, he goes where he's supposed to go. He has good timing with Russell Wilson. There's not a lot, and he has kind of that quarterback's mindset to it, and that scrambling quarterback's mindset. So when Russell Wilson is getting beyond the structure and does have those moments to freelance, put it this way, there's a reason why he was the one who made that big catch there against the 49ers on that third down that proved to be ultimately the game-winning drive for the Broncos. It's because he knows what Russ is looking for when he gets beyond the structure of the play. So I think we'll see a fair amount of Kendall Hinton as well. I don't think Robbie Anderson was going to be able to be brought up to speed enough to really be a factor if the Broncos had traded for him.
No, ever at all. And I will say about the former quarterback thing, when the play breaks down, come back to the ball.
And that's what Hinton did.
Look for with college players that they don't normally have. So when they do have it, you really appreciate that. And it's knowing the soft spot in the zone, come back to the ball. And even though Hinton's a smaller target, if you square your shoulders to the line of scrimmage, you actually create the biggest target for your quarterback. And there's a lot of receivers that are running and they're creating a smaller window. Well, if you can turn your frame and you can come back to the ball, it's going to be PI if someone tries to go over your back. And the quarterback will see you because you're coming back to him and you're a larger target. Anyway.
But stuff like that is why Kendall Hinton's a high IQ player.
Right. And every team wants one of those guys.
Yeah. I mean, look, he was on my 53 coming out of camp. I mean, I've joked about this, but it's only half joking. I kind of mean it. If I were in charge of personnel over the Broncos, Kendall Hinton would have a job for as long as he wanted.
Right. That's the way it would go, for sure. Orange and blue today. We've got a few minutes here left in tonight's show. We'll also have a pregame show. So, Mace, you'll be able to get comfortable, right? And then kind of figure out where you're going, what you're doing, maybe see what SoFi has in store for you. And then we'll get back to this at 5:15.
I've actually got to get the template for the game day inactive story ready, and then I got to pop on with D-Mac and Derek Wolf at 4:45 Mountain Time. So my dance card gets full pretty quick on a game day.
Your dance card is pretty full anyway, like every day.
That's true.
turn on the radio, you're going to hear Andrew Mason. That is a good thing for us. It's a good thing for you as well. S-A-H, Sa? Do you see Latavius Murray having a few snaps? I would, in a perfect world, what is it? The Nirvana effect? Like in the perfect world, I would love Latavius Murray to get 20 carries. Okay, 10. Can I get 10 carries tonight, Mace?
10 touches. I'm not even going to say carries. I'm going to include a couple of receptions in that as well. So I'd like to see him get 10 touches, and I think maybe something to expect if the game is going well. Because if the game is going well, the Broncos, like you said earlier, they're running the ball and they're controlling the tempo of this thing. 10 touches for Latavius Murray, 10 touches for Melvin Gordon, 5 touches for Mike Boone, 25 among the running backs. If that's what happens, I think the Broncos win this game.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even mind pumping that up a little bit more. Again, if I go back to what the Jets did with Zach Wilson, what do you have, 18 pass attempts? Marcus Mariota had 14 pass attempts. Like, you're running the ball. What Daniel Jones is not really doing much. He doesn't have to. They don't have anybody to throw to. And the guys that they paid, they don't even use, like Kenny Golladay. So, like, it's a bunch of Saquon Barkley, and the Giants are 5-1. I noticed how you didn't say the Giants when you talked about the Bills and the Chiefs and all the top teams. I'm like, Then I do love Brian Daboll, though. I do. I love Brian Daboll because it's fit. It's fit. Nathaniel Hackett, find the fit with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is better than Daniel Jones. Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy are better than anything the Giants have at wide receiver. Any tight end is better than Daniel Bellinger, San Diego State. But, like, you have talent. Denver is not lacking for talent, even with injuries. Find the fit.
Yeah, although... but to go back to you mentioning that I didn't put the Giants in that class of teams. I think the Giants are a team that ends up settling at about 10-7. They're playing close games, and I think especially when you talk about the explosive defensive plays that are generating takeaways, I think that's not necessarily the most sustainable thing. But I think they're going to be a playoff team. But however, and we saw it when they hosted the Cowboys on Monday Night Football, and Dallas got the best of them. I think there's still a gap from the Giants between the top teams in the league and the Giants. But I'd say right now the Giants they're a playoff team. I just think they're going to be going through the wild card round, potentially playing a wild card game, Cecil, against a team that has a worse record than them, because they could be sitting there at 10-7 out of the NFC East, playing a 9-8 division champion from somewhere else in the NFC.
Isn't it funny that the NFC East looks better than the AFC West right now? Would have never predicted that. Yeah, and that's a Cooper Rush-led Cowboys team, by the way. Although Dak's coming back this week, so there you go. All right, we'll do fearless predictions a little bit later. I think they need to run the ball to win, Mace. And running the ball will help the defense stay fresh. I don't get mad at the defense if they have a late sort of collapse, because they've been out there too much. They've been tired. They've been worn down. You can help out your defense and keep them fresh if you have a commitment to running the ball. And I'm not even saying, because I've seen too many teams during the week. Mace, it's so bad. Teams will be down by 7 and they'll abandon the run. Like, you could still run the ball. It's the intent of running. I hate to say this because then people will point to it, but the stats say this. It's not the stat, it's the film, it's the will. It's the intent of running the ball you must have. Yes, production must be there. You can't have a yard a carry, but you need to have the intent and the mindset that we're going to run it. We had a question earlier talking about the O-line. It's easier to run block than it is pass block. You get a fire off the ball. You get to be the enforcer. So go out there and do that tonight. Yeah,
and especially when you talk about an O-line that's going to have probably Calvin Anderson, a new starter at left tackle. Looks like they're going to have Quinn Miners back. And, of course, we know how good Miners is as a run blocker compared to his work in pass pro. And all you have to do, just turn on the film early in the Seattle game, turn on the film from the preseason in Buffalo when the Broncos actually did drive to a field goal and watch his work. So it's not just intent on the run, Cecil, it's patience. It's saying, all right, I'm sacrificing the opportunity for an explosive play now for the chance for these jabs to become sledgehammer blows, for these 1 yard and 2 yard gains up the middle to tenderize the defense. And then by the fourth quarter, you're getting 5, 6, 7 yards a pop. Unfortunately, if there's one thing you can say about Nathaniel Hackett's play calling at times so far this season, I think he's been a little bit impatient. And that's something about, we talked about, you refer to him needing mature as a coach. I think he's got to mature as a coach / play caller.
Yeah.
Yes, because you know what? He had that maturity when he was calling plays in Jacksonville when he had Leonard Fournette at running back. He had that maturity in Buffalo when he was trying to maximize Kyle Orton and they had a 3-man rotation at running back. So I know Nathaniel Hackett has that in him. He's just got to think more about kind of going about his plan over the course of a game. And maybe that's something that has eluded him because he's also got the head coach responsibilities as well. But he needs to get back to that because we have seen that sort of patient play calling from Nathaniel Hackett before.
He is Andrew Mason. I am Cecil Lammey. We'll be back at 5:15 Mountain Time for the pregame show, now with more Rachel V. Hill. But anyway, it's Orange and Blue today. Peace out, everybody. He's Mace. I'm Cease. Stay tuned and stay frosty.